Hi, everyone. Kaitlin McGreyes here, founder of Be Her Village. I'm joined with Laura Otton, a licensed clinical social worker, and we are here to talk about coronavirus because the podcast that you just listened to was recorded actually right before the quarantine started. And it's an amazing podcast, but I would love to be able to address maternal mental health and all of the things we talked about within the context of our current quarantine pandemic lockdown. So Laura, would you like to say something about that?
Yes, I was thinking about how when I did meet with you, which was one of my last social
It was
interactions.
mine too. And I actually get a little nostalgic to thinking back to that day and how nice it was to have someone in my living room.
Remember when I walked into your house and sat on your sofa and
and
how nice
breathed and breathed the same air that I did. That was
I was
lovely.
next to you. You like handed me stuff and I touched it. But it's what's interesting to me is at that moment, you and I talked about it briefly, and it
Yep.
was like it felt optional to talk about for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And we had so many other things to talk about that we didn't. And now it's like, how on earth was that ever optional? Like talking about maternal mental health, you have to talk about coronavirus. But
It
so much
was
changed.
at the time that we recorded, we were in this weird limbo though, where like me and you in person were like, this is nuts and we need to talk about it. But also there wasn't like this general public acceptance that this was big. This was like all of the media, all of our government officials were telling us it wasn't a big deal still. Meanwhile, 3 days later, the world shut down.
It all shut
Literally,
down. Right.
literally 3 days later, everything stopped. That was Thursday, and on Sunday, it all shut down. So it was a really strange time. And then we ended up kind of winging it and not talking about it at all. So I'm glad it's coming up now because how can you not talk about it?
How can you not talk about it? So I wanted to say to all those moms who are struggling right now, whether you're pregnant and facing this down and having the worst case scenarios in your head, or you just had a baby and you're isolated, you just listened to the podcast, so you probably heard me say about, some of the red flags for this. That social isolation is a really big one. And before pandemic, I and the other therapist think about it in terms of like, oh, is your family far away? Or is everyone working full time and can't take off? Things like that. But now everyone's in the same boat of family's not going to be there, friends are not going to be there for you the way that we would want them to be, the way that you want them to be. And the impact of that is twofold. You have the logistics of that community care isn't there, the hot meals, someone coming in to clean, someone in to hold the baby for you and your partner. That very hands-on has been taken away. And then there's also this emotional robbing of those moments together. So you're going to have your new baby, or even I've talked to pregnant women who are feeling this. They want to show off their belly. They want their mom to rub their belly and to sit down with each other to talk about this with their babies that are growing up week by week. They want to share those moments. And so emotionally, you can feel like you're being robbed of that time that's so fleeting and that joy. So while therapy doesn't change that in the sense of I can't take away the pandemic for a mom, I can't ship her mom in and sterilize everything for her. Therapy can help you feel less alone. It can be a safe place to vent about this and to shift your perspective a little bit around it so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. And that's what therapy is. Like, no therapist that's worth anything is going to tell you that they're going to change your life or change bad situations. It's all about how we view things, how we're taking care of ourselves, and what we're doing to keep ourselves well. And in the case of new moms, who is being brought in what capacity to help support them. And there are ways to do that right now. So I guess the point of that long spiel is that therapy is more important now than ever before.
Absolutely.
Because the stress, like, we know that stress affects not only the mom, but the baby. The mom keeping well, the partner keeping well, the baby's fine. The babies are healthy and happy, pandemic or not pandemic, but the family unit needs to be healthy and strong. And that's where therapy can come in and help support that.
I think that's such a great message, Laura. And I think part of what is difficult about the pandemic in particular in the quarantine is that it's really slow moving, right? Like it's not someone close to us passes away. It's not 9/11. It's not a car crash. It's not a house fire. It's not like this one-time traumatic event. It is this really slow, very collective, traumatizing, terrifying time. And I think that there's a lot of grief for pregnant women, for all the, and new moms, for all the things you just said about not having people touch their bellies, not having their baby showers, not having people drop off meals and see their baby. And you know, some people might not have their baby come out in public for 6 more months. I mean, it's a very trying time. And I think if you were pregnant or if you had a new baby and God forbid your mother passed away or you had a huge loss, it would be obvious to go see a therapist. It would be obvious, like, I am in crisis. This is why I'm feeling like this. But I think because it's happening to everyone, I'm not sure that everyone realizes this is a crisis, number one, and that this is grief and that there's an actual loss here. And it's okay to feel all those things. And it's okay to act in a way you would for other traumatic incidents. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like, it's just so slow moving and everybody's going through it. So it feels like maybe we should feel normal, but nobody feels normal.
Adjust to this and get over it. Yeah, but trauma, you know, the hallmarks of trauma are that you're out of control and there's a perception that your life or your well-being is in danger.
That sounds like every day.
That sounds like right now. And think about giving birth during this time and just the idea, you know, and you and I have talked about this, wearing masks. And how sterile and scary that all feels. So this is, you know, moms are doing an incredible job getting through this, but it takes a lot of strength to ask for help. And we don't want to create this dynamic of like, you can do this on your own, like, you got this. Well, you do got this, but you deserve a lot of support around that. Because this is a trauma, it is slow moving, you're going to have ups and downs. Sometimes we feel like, well, if I get through this bad day, next day will be better. But even, you know, getting into the support groups, getting into the community supports virtually, getting into therapy can make all the difference in this time. And also with a symptoms of anxiety too. Get ramped up, because more than anything, you don't want anything to happen to your baby. You're scared about germs. Any new mom is scared about germs and their baby getting sick. And so now that's even more ramped up. And it's like, all right, how do we control this? How do we manage this in the healthiest way possible for us and our baby?
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming on here and talking about that further, so that it's really, so that the podcast that just aired is now contextual and makes sense for the people that are sitting in their homes listening. And I think now more than ever, I think, you know, part of it is that women actually, just because we're in a pandemic and a quarantine doesn't mean that all of those needs, everything we just talked about, all the struggles of new parenthood, it's just heightened. It doesn't get replaced. And so there's more of a need for support than ever.
Absolutely. No, thanks for having me, because we couldn't put this out there without acknowledging what's happening here.
Absolutely.
But this is a journey, and moms are surviving this, and they're going to pull up all of their strengths to get through this. And we're going to look back on this as one of the hardest times. And, you know, how does this story unfold? And so have the strength to reach out, ask for help. And there are a lot of us out here to help support the new mom. And
if someone is listening to this and wants to reach out to you for therapy, how would they be in touch with you?
My website is therapyformotherhood.com. My phone number up there, texting, email. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook as Therapy for Motherhood and Laura Otton. So I'm easily reached.
Beautiful.
I'm not a crisis line, but I do get back within 24 hours.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you.